and their minds to liberation. Aquarius.
The Game Changer updated March 1st, 2019. See also Solar Eclipse June 21st, 2020, Nibiru, Galactic Superwave 2020s. Aquarius, the turn of the evolutionary wheel, the days of Noah, take courage. Human race is divine. Pythagoras, beautiful indeed, is the mystery given us by the blessed gods. Death is for mortals no longer an evil, but a blessing. Inscription found at Eleusis. Events do not just happen, but arrive by appointment. Epictetus, when the electric wizard arrives, gather in banners of righteousness. Bo-Tun, ECC 12:6-7. Or, ever the silver cord be loosed. Or, the golden bowl be broken. Or, the pitcher be broken at the fountain. Or, the wheel broken at the cistern. Then shall the dust return to the earth as it was, and the spirit shall return unto God who gave it. The Magi's prophecy of world peace and a universal language. It is the opinion and belief of the majority of the most ancient sages, that there will come a fated and predestined time when the earth will be completely leveled, united, and equal. There will be but one mode of life, and but one form of government among mankind who will all speak one language and will live happily. Translated from Plutarch. Isis and Osiris 47, Contigabales PG 314. Summer solstice of 2020s. My feeling is that the truth is always in plain sight. Take, for example, the eye chart. 20/20ths is perfect vision. 20/20ths is also hindsight. Those who created the sayings and the eye chart knew the mysteries of Stonehenge and the pyramids which tell us. We are at the halfway point, the turning point in our journey through the great year as of June 21st, 2020. This is our time of blessing. This is our appointment with our higher self. Act 2:20. The sun shall be turned into darkness, and the moon into blood, before that great and notable day of the Lord come. The eclipse of June 21st, 2020, Part 2. Arcana Recordo. On the summer solstice of 2020s, a unique astronomical event will occur. There will be an annular eclipse of the sun, which in itself is not unusual. But the position of the eclipse relative to the galactic equator will be. Below in website is a view of this alignment as seen from outer space. The astronomical phenomenon of the sun sitting on the galactic equator may look familiar, for indeed it is. HTTPs, the number 9, Weebly, Com20. Earth, moon, and sun all sitting on the galactic equator. Earth changes, sacred geometry, numerology amp, extinction event cycle revealed. Randall Carlson, no mother race, any more than her subraces and offshoots, is allowed by the one. Reigning law to trespass upon the prerogatives of the race or subrace that will follow it. Least of all, to encroach upon the knowledge and powers in store for its successor. Thou shalt not eat of the fruit of knowledge of good and evil, of the tree that is growing for thy heirs, the Mahatma letters to A.P. Sinet, pp. 153-54. So that when a new minor period sets in, the earth is so changed, even geologically, as to be practically a new world. 4. That of these 12 transformations, the earth after each of the first 6 is grosser, and everything on it, man included, more material than after the preceding one, while after each of the remaining 6 the contrary is true. Both earth and man growing more and more refined and spiritual with each terrestrial change. 5. That when the apex of the cycle is reached, a gradual dissolution takes place, and every living and objective form is destroyed. Blavatsky, H.P. Isis Unveiled. Vol. IAMP 2, Kindle locations 19,414-19,420. This is not the apex of the cycle. However, things will change because we have our personal, family, and national karma to work out. It is not the end of the world. The destiny of the present subrace is that the earth and its humanity must be purified and take an advanced step, both in consciousness and in physical affairs, to prepare conditions necessary for the coming of the more spiritual 6th subrace. Naturally, its past creations of selfishness, greed, impurity, injustice, and unbrotherliness must be faced, and redeemed ere it can enter into the new cycle. Nevertheless, we are at the end of a subrace cycle, when its old accounts must be balanced. A minor Iron Age preparatory to the minor Golden Age of this subrace cycle, for each race. Subrace and family race has its iron and other ages. The end of the world will therefore not come suddenly. The message of Aquaria Christian mystics. Upon that day, declares the Lord, a cry will be heard from the fish gate. Pisces, a whale from the second quarter, a loud crash from the hills. Ancient prophecies worldwide point to this time as the transition, or emergence, of a new world age. The prophecies maintain that there were previous ages which were believed to have evolved to a point of high civilization, followed by a total and profound cataclysm and subsequent global collapse. We are now at the end of a world cycle and have entered the next phase of evolution. The oral histories of the indigenous peoples of the Americas say that we are now in the Great Purification, a period when the world clears away the old, creating the opportunity for new growth. Before the emergence into the next age can take place, a purging of all that is imbalanced will occur, restoring the natural cycles of the planet and of life itself. The indigenous elders see this not as a period of despair, but one of birthing and bringing about a new and better world, a time to release the old ways and embrace a global spirit of cooperation. They tell us that the solutions are before us, if only we have the eyes and the wisdom to see them. They say that if we are to live this philosophy courageously, we must become caretakers of our planet and raise our own individual conscious state in order to succeed in raising the consciousness of the collective whole. http www. We have an appointment. Regardless of when, whether we keep our weather appointment, keep your head at all times. No one dies, not even the creeps. You are not your body. But prepare through understanding and knowledge for the greatest day of your current illusion, at which time every problem will be solved. Prolaic dissolution during transition of the fifth to the sixth subraces of the fifth root race. Pralaya Sanskrit, in Hindu cosmology, is an ionic term for dissolution, which specifies different periods of time during which a non-activity situation persists, as per different formats or contexts. The word Mahapralaya stands for Great Dissolution. During each Pralaya, the lower 10 realms, Loka, are destroyed, while the higher 4 realms, including Satyaloka, Tapaloka, Janaloka, are preserved. During each Mahapralaya, all 14 realms are destroyed. In the Samkhya philosophy, one of the 6 schools of classical Indian philosophy, a state of matter achieved when the 3 gunas, principles of matter, are in perfect balance. The word pralaya comes from Sanskrit meaning dissolution, or by extension reabsorption, destruction, annihilation, or death. The most immediately relevant shift in the basis of active manifestation applicable to humanity in general is the gradual transition from the 5th to the 6th subraces of the 5th root race. Because the law of periodicity is universal, this transition cannot take place without a prolaic dissolution of aspects of the human vestures and their subsequent remanifestation in a transformed mode. Whatever the subtle consequences of this significant change on the 4 lower planes, the essential locus of this transmutation is in the 5th and 6th principles of human nature, manas and buddhi. Hence, the meaning and magnitude of the present transformation cannot be apprehended from any standpoint bound up with the lower quaternary, but only from within the basic principle of self-consciousness through its meditative attunement to buddhi. Otherwise, the apparent pralaya of contemporary civilizations, as well as the promise and potential of an incipient golden age, cannot be comprehended. The teachings of the Gupta Vidya with regard to Manvantara and Pralaya are meant to be studied not merely out of intellectual interest or philosophic curiosity. They are intended for those who truly seek to become yogins, those who, by daily meditation, daily self-study, and the daily renunciation of the fruits of action, seek self-consciously to bring about profound changes in their subtle vestures consonant with the present phase of evolution. https www Theosophy Trust, org 800 Nuity of Consciousness. Know and knew, and so can you. Pyramids Amp, Aquarius. There was also great wisdom and forethought displayed in closing all the outlets of the pyramid, all passageways, for those great ones knew that they were to be submerged. Perhaps twice, before the Fohat electric, impulse or spirit of the Aquarian age would impel mankind to obey the inner urge and seek to solve the pyramid mystery when he himself was beginning to seek, and find the solution of the great and wondrous mystery within his own body. Hence passageways were closed and kept free from the debris of ages. In this Aquarian, age this Sunday of God, when the sign of the Son of Man has appeared in the heavens, all things will stand revealed. Once again, in the course of the ages, will mankind have reached the same goal which the builders of the Great Pyramid reached in that far remote age of at least 500 years. And here and there are found a few whose eyes are beginning to be cleared, whose material vision is being purified, whose brain cells are beginning to vibrate to that harmony which, to the ancient ones, was sweet and thrilling music. And when this Aquarian age shall reach its close, we too will be able to join in that great anthem of joy and sing the praises of the Most High, the God within us. Humanity has been wandering many, many years in the wilderness, but the promised land, flowing with milk and honey, is very, very near, and soon the stone that the builders rejected will have become the head of the corner. And in that day shall there be an altar to the Lord in the midst of the land of Egypt, and a pillar at the border thereof to the Lord. Isaiah in Hebrew means salvation of Jehovah, and Jehovah means the whole body of man, but more especially does it mean the second man Adam, a quickening spirit, the Lord God from heaven, the I am the Lord thy God. George W. Godman, the Word made flesh. But the Comforter, which is the Holy Ghost, whom the Father will send in my name, shall teach you all things, and bring all things to your remembrance, whatsoever I have said unto you. St. John, Shiv, 26. Earth Renovations, Indian Wisdom, Kabbalah, T.G. Hermes. Kalki, incarnation of Vishnu, who is yet to appear at the close of the fourth or Kali age, when the world has become wholly depraved, for the final destruction of the wicked, for the re-establishment of righteousness upon the earth, and a renovation of all creation with a return to a new age of purity. Satyayuga. According to some, he will be revealed in the sky, seated on a white horse, with a drawn sword in his hand, blazing like a comet. Williams, Indian Wisdom, pg 335. In that time, when the Messiah comes now, all those who have not tasted death will die through him, and he will revivify them at once. Why is this? Because nothing whatever of that pollution of sin, shall remain in the world, and there will be a new world made by the holy blessed be he. Zohar Meyer Kabbalah 437. Then shall the earth no longer hold together. The voice of every god shall cease in the great silence that no one can break. The fruits of the earth shall rot, nay earth NP longer shall bring forth, and air itself will faint. This, when it comes, shall be the world's old age, impiety, irregularity, and lack of rationality in all good things. God ending all ill, by either washing it away with water, or burning it away with fire, or by means of pestilent diseases spread through hostile lands. God will recall the cosmos to its ancient form, so that the world itself shall seem meet to be worshipped and admired, and God, the maker and restorer of so vast a work, be sung by the humanity who shall be then. For this rebirth of cosmos is the making of all good things, and the most holy and most pious bringing back nature's self, by means of a set course of time, the perfect sermon, G. Hermes, Vol 2 PG 357 Dictionary of all Scriptures, Gasket PG 625 Renovation. The Dakini speaks, my friends, let's grow up. Let's stop pretending we don't know the deal here. Or if we truly haven't noticed, let's wake up and notice. Look, everything that can be lost will be lost. It's simple. How could we have missed it for so long? Let's grieve our losses fully, like ripe human beings, but please let's not be so shocked by them. Let's not act so betrayed, as though life had broken her secret promise to us. Impermanence is life's only promise to us, and she keeps it with ruthless impeccability. To a child she seems cruel, but she is only wild, and her compassion exquisitely precise. Brilliantly penetrating, luminous with truth, she strips away the unreal to show us the real. This is the true ride. Let's give ourselves to it. Let's stop making deals for a safe passage. There isn't one anyway, and the cost is too high. We are not children anymore. The true human adult gives everything for what cannot be lost. Let's dance the wild dance of no hope. By Jennifer Wellwood, https. Rev 14. And the angel thrust in his sickle into the earth, and gathered the vine of the earth, and cast it into the great winepress of the wrath of God. Thus, when Herodotus was in Egypt, the Egyptians had, as now known, observed at least 5 different zodiac cycles of 461 years. The priests informed a Greek inquirer that time had been reckoned by them for so long that the sun had twice risen where it then set, and twice set where it then arose. This can only be realized as a fact in nature by means of 2 cycles of precession, or a period of 51,736 years. Vol 2, p. 318. Blavatsky, H.P. The Secret Doctrine, Kindle Location 7000, This is squaring the circle. Elias Ashmole's Theatrum Chemicum Britannicum, when thous hast made the quadrangle round, then is all the secrets found. The sidereal, prophecies of the zodiac, as they are called by Christian mystics, never point to any one particular event, however solemn and sacred it may be for some one portion of humanity, but to ever recurrent. Periodical laws in nature, understood but by the initiates of the sidereal gods themselves. Blavatsky, H.P., The Secret Doctrine, Kindle locations 12,081-12,083. The astronomical records of universal history, however, are said to have had their beginnings with the third subrace of the fourth root race, or the Atlanteans. When was it? Occult data show that even since the time of the regular establishment of the zodiacal calculations in Egypt, the poles have been thrice inverted. Blavatsky, H.P., The Secret Doctrine, Kindle locations 18,850 to 18,853. For if indeed the ark had not been meant for man to enter, then the water of the flood would not have come. In this way he intended and planned to save the gods and the angels, and the powers, the greatness of all of these, and the LT nourishment chi, in the way of life. And he moves them from the aeon, and nourishes them in the permanent places. And the judgment of the flesh was unleashed. Only the work of the power stood up. The concept of the great power, Nag Hammadi Gospels, Matt 24:36. But of that day and hour knoweth no man, no, not the angels of heaven, but my Father only. Matt 24:37. But as the days of Noah were, so shall also the coming of the Son of Man be. Matt 24:38. For as in the days that were before the flood they were eating and drinking, marrying and giving in marriage, until the day that Noah entered into the ark. Matt 24:39. And knew not until the flood came, and took them all away, so shall also the coming of the Son of Man be. Evils bear in themselves the causes of their own extirpation, local extinction. Providence is bringing the old order of things to a close in order to provide place for something better and higher. Julian Hawthorne, as above so it is below. That which has been will return again, as in heaven so on earth. Blavatsky, H.P., Isis Unveiled. Vol. I am. Second the deluge, a change in triad. There have been many deluges. There are triads of the zodiac, and perhaps triads within greater or smaller cycles. Within root races, greater disasters may come, and within subraces, lesser redesigns. We are changing from the fifth subrace to the sixth subrace of the fifth root race of the fourth world. I see a change from male to androgynous at this time. The electricity of Fohat brings a different frequency. The Mayans call it the ninth wave. We might also call it Joel's prophecy. The great part about this change is it will be in the positive direction, ascending. According to Jewish legend, the deluge was caused by the male waters, masculine, from the sky meeting the female waters, feminine, which issued forth from the ground. At the end of the feminine triad there was a deluge in Jewish legends. We are at the end of a triad. The masculine triad will be replaced by the androgynous triad. Have you built your ark? The authors of Sumer and Babylon describe their hair-raising catastrophes of the flood without a thought of earthly events. Their imagination and calculations as well as their thought belong wholly among the stars. What actually comes to an end is a world, in the sense of a world age. The catastrophe cleans out the past, which is replaced by a new heaven and a new earth, and ruled by a new pole star. The biblical flood was also the end of a world, and Noah's adventure is rehearsed in many traditions and many forms all over the planet. The Greeks knew of 3 successive destructions. Another epithet of Heimdall, namely Vindler, of which Rydberg states, p. 595. The name is a subform of Vindel, and comes from vinda, to twist or turn, wind, to turn anything around rapidly. As the epithet the turner is given to that god who brought friction fire bore fire to man, and who is himself the personification of this fire, then it must be synonymous with the borer. The zodiac, Percival, the Sibyl's prophecy does not end with the catastrophes, but it moves from the tragic to the lytic mode, to sing of the dawning of the new age. Now do I see the earth anew rise all green from the waves again. Then fields unsowed bare, ripened fruit, all ills grow better. There are, indeed, too many traditions connecting Ursa and the Pleiades with this or that kind of catastrophe to be overlooked. Among the many we mention only one example from later Jewish legends, some lines taken out of a most fanciful description of Noah's flood. Quoted by Fraser, and 10 Folklore in the Old Testament, 1918. IPP 143. Now the deluge was caused by the male waters, masculine triad, from the sky meeting the female waters, feminine triad, which issued forth from the ground. The holes in the sky by which the upper waters escaped were made by God when he removed stars out of the constellation of the Pleiades, and in order to stop this torrent of rain, God had afterwards to bung up the 2 holes with a couple of stars borrowed from the constellation of the Bear. That is why the Bear runs after the Pleiades to this day, She wants her children back, but she will never get them till after the last day. Hamlet's Mill by Giorgio de Santillana and Hertha von Duchenne, 1977. The eagle doth not grow out of thee, therefore shall he send a wind unto thee that will repress thee and thy young. Although it may go well with thee, and thou sayest to thyself, My soul, thou hast all thou desirest and wishest for. What is there that may not be thine? Thou art sitting in paradise, while thou art thinking it thus with thee, and there is nothing contrary. In thy greatest counsels and rejoicings, the deluge shall burst in upon thee, and the rough south wind shall blow thee away as dust of the earth. For not in pleasure and wealth are we created, but in the vale of tears. This thou hast forgotten. Prophecies of Paracelsus. Ring out the old, ring in the new, evolve. The poet Tennyson said, Ring out the old, ring in the new. There is, at this point in the history of human evolution, a tremendous and unprecedented golden opportunity. Its origin is not in outward forms and institutions, but in consciousness itself. Its promise is rooted in a radical restructuring of the ratios in human consciousness between the unmanifest and manifest. Since this revolution arises within the very principle of meisic self-consciousness, it can be neither understood nor entered through Tellurian conceptions of human history or egoity below the fourth plane. Yet, everywhere, men and women of moral courage can glimpse this subtle transformation through the intimations of awakened intuition, and can authentically respond to the noumenal initiatives of our time. Each may uncover within himself the resources to contribute to the humanity of the future, and the selfless strength to take those decisions which will assure participation in that humanity at the moment of death. Ring out the old, ring in the new, ring happy bells across the snow. The year is going, let him go. Ring out the false, ring in the true. Tennyson. Before the dawning of the new order of the ages, in which the relations of nations will be changed significantly, humanity will witness the dismantling of the old structures. The clarion call has been sounded, and it will be maintained continuously until all the obsolete megaliths that wallow in the debris of the past and the humbug of history, and until all the appalling vicissitudes of the karma of Israel over 2,000 years will come to an end not with a bang but a whimper. It is the solemn duty of those who have had the sacred privilege of entering the presence of the new cycle to draw apart, in the words of St. Paul, from the multitudes of fatalists, and to insert themselves into the whole human family. It will become clear that human beings have assumed needless burdens of false knowledge. Through a mistaken conception of knowledge, they assume that what they repeat below the fourth plane they truly know. It is the tragedy of man and of human history that the monstrous necromancy and extreme sickness of so few should have imposed so great and so intolerable a burden upon large masses of human beings. This is the fault of modern miseducation, rooted in false ideas of human life, which asserts the quaint dogma, for which there is no evidence and never will be, that the human being is the body, that there is only one life, that this is a universe without moral law, that everything is chaos and without meaning, and that by counting the heads of the mindless, by collating the opinions of cerebrating machines, there is an accredited basis for either truth or equality or freedom. Hermes, March 1982, Raga van Iyer, HTTPs, Thorg 856, The Vigil Night of Humanity. Lord of the Animals, GTT, 2 Esdras 14:11, for the world is divided into 12 parts, and the 10 parts of it are gone already, and half of a 10th part. Written prior to the 12th part Pisces, squaring the circle, Elias Ashmole's Theatrum Chemicum Britannicum, when thou hast made the quadrangle round, then is all the secrets found. Elias Ashmole's plate shows the analogies between the life of Christ and the 4 grand divisions of the alchemical process. Herein is also revealed the teaching that the philosopher's stone itself is a macrocosm and a microcosm, embodying the principles of astronomy and cosmogony, both universal and human. MPF, not the end of the world. Such manifestation is promised at the end of every manvantara or world period by the scriptures of every great religion, and save in the esoteric interpretation of all these. In none so clearly as in the Vedas, for there it is said that at the end of each manvantara comes the pralaya, or the destruction of the world. HTTPs. Theosophy Trust. Org 40 have animals' souls. As far as I understand it, the cycle of the zodiac is a smaller cycle intended for material and spiritual adjustments, and also for evolution of souls. The entire remodeling will come at the end of this world, we being in the 4th world and 5th race, and still some ways to go. But we must evolve, and in so doing, there will be great changes. A partial cataclysm occurs at the close of every, Age of the world, they say, which does not destroy the latter, but only changes its general appearance. New races of men and animals and a new flora evolve from the dissolution of the precedent ones. Blavatsky, H. Isis unveiled. Vol. I am. 2. Kindle locations 18,903, 18,905. Now has come the last age of the Kumean prophecy. The great cycle of periods is born anew. Now returns the maid, returns the reign of Saturn. Now from high heaven a new generation comes down. Yet do thou at that boy's birth, in whom the iron race shall begin to cease, and the golden to arise over all the world. Virgil, Eclogue IV Polio. In the far distant future, we therefore have 4,270 years left before the close of this iron age. Hence no one need worry about the end of the world coming at all soon, for the 6th and 7th sub-races of our present 5th or Aryan race, and then the entire 6th and 7th great races, with their 7 sub-races, each with its many family races, each composed of many nations, must all have their evolution before the close of this kalpa. To gain some conception of such vast periods, let us consider the cycle of our present 5th great race, the Aryan. This began about 10,000 years ago, before the complete sinking of the ancient continent of Atlantis, at the beginning of the glacial or ice age. The secret Doctrininine tells us that the first subrace saw the doom of the giants of those days, also the flood, while the 4th saw the disappearance, 110 years ago, of the last islands left by the sinking of Atlantis. Each subrace endures for approximately years, its 7 family divisions extending over some years each, and the many national divisions from 2,000 years. We are now just entering upon the beginning of the 2,100 year period of the 6th subrace, although the period will be considerably shortened owing to the shortening of all periods as a great cycle draws to a close. Then will follow the even shorter cycle of the 7th subrace. Then the 6th great race will have to have its evolution of nearly 10,000 years before the 7th great root race. The message of Aquaria Christian mystics, the Chinese, who declare that the cycle of existence is represented by the zodiac. At the end of each great age of manifestation, the universe is dissolved in the sign of Pisces, or deluge, and is reformed or reborn in Aries. Aries is the sign representing Adam, Taurus is Eve, Cain and Abel are the twins, or Gemini. The eternal principle is reborn at the beginning of each cycle, even as it is stated definitely in Genesis that Adam was not the first man, but merely the first man of the cycle, or an incarnation of the eternal man. The protagon is of Plato. In Genesis 1:28, the Lord said to Adam, "Be fruitful and multiply and replenish the earth." Paul Manly P. How to Understand Your Bible, a philosopher's interpretation of obscure and puzzling passages. Kindle locations 466-470. Well, it's all right, we're going to the end of the line. The signs of the times. Millenarians and Adventists of robust faith may go on saying that the coming of the carnalized Christ is near at hand, and prepare themselves for the end of the world. Theosophists, at any rate some of them, who understand the hidden meaning of the universally expected avatars, messiahs, socioshes, and Christs, know that it is no end of the world, but the consummation of the age that is, the close of a cycle, which is now fast approaching. There are several remarkable cycles that come to a close at the end of this century. First, the 5,000 years of the Kali Yuga cycle. Again, the messianic cycle of the Samaritan, also Kabbalistic Jews of the man connected with Pisces, Ichthys or Fishman Dag. It is a cycle, historic and not very long, but very occult, lasting about 2155 solar years, but having a true significance only when computed by lunar months. It occurred 2410s and 255 BC, Aquarius 1900 2000, 155 255, or when the equinox entered into the sign of the Ram, and again into that of Pisces. When it enters in a few years the sign of Aquarius, 1900, psychologists will have some extra work to do, and the psychic idiosyncrasies of humanity will enter on a great change. H.P.B. Lucifer, October 1887. The revolution of the physical world, according to the ancient doctrine, is attended by a like revolution in the world of intellect. The spiritual evolution of the world proceeding in cycles, like the physical one. As above, so it is below. That which has been will return again, as in heaven, so on earth. Blavatsky, H.P., Isis Unveiled. Vol. I Amp. 2. Kindle location 621-622. The material shackles need to be removed, and there is no easy way. Our destiny is through our evolution, and in order for us to ascend, we will have to endure. Anyone reading this page likely understands no one dies. You are not your body. If things change, it is only your conscious reality that changes. That which is within you, given the possibilities and probabilities of quantum physics. We either devolve or we evolve our consciousness, spirituality, and in so doing our realities must change to suit the evolution of our consciousness. This is all very exciting. No more money, religion, politics, only wisdom, love, and compassion amongst communities. The end of our suffering for some, which we endured as a result of our ignorance. Ignorance in this reality will soon vanish in a new level consciousness on this earth. What a brilliant creation we are experiencing. Since the beginning, not a single soul has ever died. If the earth were destroyed today, no one would die. Instead, we would automatically transfer our consciousness to our higher vibrational, less dense energy body and continue our great spiritual quest. The earth we love is but one of millions of temporary environments designed for the training and education of soul. Bullman, William, Susan, Higher Self Now, Accelerating Your Spiritual Evolution, Kindle location 678-679. With that understanding, you realize that the earth itself must evolve, and both ourselves and the earth do so, during the sign Aquarius as the wheel turns. The climate will and is changing. It will get tough as the earth cleanses herself of the material world, making way for the righteous who will build the road to the next golden age. It would be nonsensical to believe that this world as is will carry us into a golden age. There are not enough horses to pull the wagons through the miry clay. Rather than educate the masses, mob, who now with little understanding might turn the world into a Black Friday event. They dumb them down with entertainment and turn them into proles so they remain ignorant to the events of the future. Not only that, they create global warming nonsense and blame it on man when it has very little to do with man. It has everything to do with the sun, Fohat, and the turn of the evolutionary wheel. There has been a lot said by many about the war on consciousness. I don't think we have to look any further than the sky to see the war against consciousness. Having said that, I believe sun blocking to be a consequence for other reasons. The true nature of sky stripes is not to hinder your conscious evolution, because I doubt that it is possible. See next paragraph. But instead, I believe it to be intended to mitigate the damage from Aquarius so that the masses are not awakened to the ultimate and timely changes. Of course, it could have a twofold purpose: dumb you down and keep Aquarius at bay. The particles sprayed in the air absorb the water, and it falls like a gray-blue haze. The wheel in the sky keeps on turning. There is no stopping evolution, and I look forward to the intermission as we all should. We can get rid of the creeps who will devolve into things that creep. Let us all rejoice when we shed our material bodies and our material world. Only those who are not ready to graduate will return to a material world. Let me emphasize again, no one dies. You just return to a world that represents your level of consciousness. There is nothing to fear but your ignorance. In any case, get out there and eat the sun, etheric force, Fohat. It is the soul of nature. It is the primal force from which all the forces of nature spring. Newton said that this subtle ether penetrates through all, even the hardest bodies, and is concealed in their substance. Through the strength and activity of this spirit, bodies attract each other and adhere together when brought into contact. In it and by it, distance is annihilated, and all objects touch each other. Through this life-spirit light also flows, and is refracted and reflected, and warms bodies. Through it we are connected in sympathy with all other souls, and all of the objects of nature, even to all the heavenly bodies. The word ether is from AQW, to light up or kindle. According to Pythagoras and all the oldest philosophers, it was viewed as a divine luminous principle or substance, which permeates all things, and at the same time contains all things. They called it the astral light. The Germans call it the Weltgeist, the breath of the Father, the Holy Ghost, the life principle. Acts 2:17. Ra is coming. The weight of this Piscean circus is killing them. Son of righteousness, Malfor 2. Here comes the sun, here comes the sun, and I say it's all right, sun, 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 sun. Here it comes. Malfor's 2. But unto you that fear my name shall the Son of righteousness arise with healing in his wings, and ye shall go forth, and grow up as calves of the stall. The hierarchies of beings move up in the scale of evolutionary development from the elemental into the mineral, vegetable, animal, and ultimately the human kingdoms that we are familiar with at our physical level of existence. The teaching has it, however, that this evolutionary development proceeds on after the end stage into superhuman stages, where there are numerous hierarchies of beings of various grades of intelligence and power, from those immediately post-human to the very exalted magnificent beings who play the parts in the grand evolutionary process of what we might regard as gods. They are the supreme intelligences controlling all the intelligences beneath them. In this scale of things, the lowest are the elementals, which operate on all planes of being and are the effective agents of all action. The great beings, the planetary spirits as they are called, in some classifications archangels, are each of them a collective being consisting of lesser beings who themselves have reached exalted states of knowledge and power. Can you see the light increasing? Ra is coming. Do you want to get your behinds tanned, or are we going to initiate heading home? Imagine a burglar caught in the act by someone shining a flashlight. The intruder usually goes berserk. Notice the dementia on the planet with the slight increase of light we are now experiencing. Do not resist what is taking place on the planet Earth at this time in the Platonic year. Let the light do its work. It is only Ra dropping a few masks. We move up the hill if the water is rising in our area. Likewise, we change our own body's vibration if we want to handle the intensifying light. The new pulsation levels anything that is not attuned to it, just as a singer's high-pitched note shatters a glass. How would I know what's going on? The play of life is unfolding just as it is written in all the mythologies. Why should we be so mystified by the grotesque events that are taking place on the planet? The Bible and the sacred writings, or scriptures of many people in the world, say it all gets hideous at this time in the great year. Only a person who is deep in the Piscean maze could still believe that one hand of God wins over the other hand of the same God. As we enter the Aquarian age, many of us are realizing how ridiculous, yet stimulating, this belief was. Yet even more amusing is the realization that it is necessary to believe that one fish wins over the other fish just to play. The Piscean outlook caused us to fret and worry. At this time in the Platonic year, Mother Nature awakens and starts to balance, raise, or level everything discordant with the coming of the new eon. She is saying to us, come out of the fun house. Get off that roller coaster. Come out of the carnival. Enough of this bazaar. It is time to start heading home. We are pleading like little kids. Please, Mom, one more ride on the roller coaster. Please, can we dawdle just a few more hours at the carnival? Mother Nature is saying, Father is coming. Can you see the light increasing? Ra is coming. Do you want to get your behinds tanned, or are we going to initiate heading home? The workmen want to dismantle this carnival so the grass and plants in the field can start growing again. The weight of this Piscean circus is killing them. Raymond Andrew, Secrets of the Sphinx, Mysteries of the Ages Revealed. Kindle locations 940-947. Of piety and true philosophy. All in the heaven is free from change. All on the earth is subject unto it. Not in the heavens a slave. Not on the earth is free. Nothing cannot be known in heaven. Naught can be known on earth. The things on earth do not consort with things in heaven. All things in heaven are free from blame. All on the earth are blameworthy. The immortal is not mortal. The mortal, not immortal. That which is sown is not invariably brought forth, but that which is brought forth must have invariably been sown. 13. Now, for a body that can be dissolved, there are 2 times. The period from its sowing till its birth, and from its birth until its death, but for an everlasting body, the time from birth alone. Things subject unto dissolution wax and wane. The matter that's dissolved doth undergo 2 contrary transformings, death and birth, but everlasting doth change either to its own self, or into things like to itself. The birth of man is the beginning of his dissolution, man's dissolution the beginning of his birth. That which departs one returns, and what returns departs again. 14. Of things existent, some are in bodies, some in forms, and some are in activities. Body in forms, and form and energy in body. The deathless shares not in the mortal part. The mortal shares in the immortal. The mortal body doth not mount into the deathless one. The deathless one descends into the mortal frame. Activities do not ascend, but they descend. 15. The things on earth bestow no benefit on things in heaven. The things in heaven shower every benefit on things on earth. Of bodies everlasting heaven is the container. Of those corruptible, the earth. Earth is irrational. The heaven is rational. The things in heaven are under it. The things on earth above the earth. What, then, is God? The good that naught can change. What, man? The bad that can be changed. 16. If thou rememberest these heads, thou wilt remember also what I have already set forth for thee with greater wealth of words. For these are summaries of those. Avoid, however, converse with the many on these things. Not that I would that thou shouldst keep them selfishly unto thyself, but rather that thou shouldst not seem ridiculous unto the multitude. For that the like's acceptable unto the like, the unlike's never friend to the unlike. Such words as these have very, very few to give them ear. Nay, probably they will not even have the few. They have, moreover, some strange force, peculiar unto themselves, for they provoke the evil all the more to bad. Wherefore thou shouldst protect the many from themselves, for they ignore the power of what's been said. All that in man is animal is proner unto bad than unto good. Nay, it doth cohabit with it, because it is in love with it. Now if this animal should learn that cosmos is subject to Genesis, and all things come and go according to foreknowledge, and by necessity, fate ruling all, in no long time it would grow worse than it is now. And thinking scorn of the whole universe, as being subject unto Genesis, and unto fate referring all the causes of the bad, would never cease from every evil deed. Wherefore care should be taken of them, in order that being left in ignorance, they may become less bad through fear of the unknown. Thrice greatest Hermes, Vol. Furry, first excerpts by Stobus, excerpt first of Piety and True Philosophy by G.R.S. at Mead 1906. For this rebirth of cosmos is the making new of all good things, and the most holy and most pious bringing back again of nature's self, by means of a set course of time, of nature, which was without beginning, and which is without an end. For that God's will hath no beginning, and in that 'tis the same and as it is without an end. Hermetic context, Hermetica Asclepius 26. Coho, indeed this is truth. The last 6,000 years was the period in which such beings were prepared, and in this conjunction of history, these chosen ones should be unified, to fulfill the prophecies. Words are beautiful, inspiring, but they will remain just beautiful words unless action is taken. To bring the Coho, kingdom of heaven on earth, can only be done by the actions of individuals, groups, and nations. Most people do not approach the problems from their roots. They work with the effects, not the causes. When man cures the causes of this elusive separation of one from the other, and becomes one in God, then there will be no terror, but peace. The disasters in 1983 and beyond are a part of an overall plan to first awaken many people as to how helpless humans can be, and secondly, to accelerate the processes of bringing the kingdom of heaven on. Man still thinks he can do without God. Man without God is a helpless, separate ego. This lesson should be learned. Everything is in divine order, and you shall hear of wars and rumors of wars. See that you not be troubled. Matthew 24:6. When we want to build a new house over an old one, first we have to destroy the old in order to replace it with the new. The new order of the ages is upon us. Therefore the old is crumbling. We are in the middle of cleansing the earth for the golden age to come. This is why it looks even messier than before, but it will pass. Concentrate on this so the news will not affect you. When we try to clean the house, in the middle of the process the house looks even more messy than before. But when it is cleaned and everything is replaced, it will look beautiful. It is like a 7-year-old child to say, why doesn't his father, who is the head of the university, just give him a doctorate degree without him going through all the years of training in school, high school, etc.? We are here to learn many lessons. No one can be saved until he or she is ready. Our pure thoughts and open hearts make the world heal itself of terror and destruction. The darkness as old beliefs and dead religions, dogmas, are now fighting fiercely with the progress of the human to reach higher consciousness. But who has ever seen that when the light comes, darkness continues to exist? Light shall heal the earth, and terror and destruction will go away. Aquarius. Uranus is a son of the sun, and the sign of the Son of Man, the ruling planet of the age of Aquarius, is Uranus. The Bible was written in Greek. The Greek word for heaven is Uranos, which is translated into English as Uranus. Matthew 4:17. Jesus began to say, the kingdom of heaven is at hand. Uranus is known as the great destroyer of forms. You are a form. But this destruction is only in order that a better form may come into being. The water-bearer is linked with the great floods, and with him who rides out the deluge and lays down the seed of a new order. In the Bible, the sign of Aquarius is called the sign of the Son of Man, and in astrology the water-bearer, and is represented by a man emptying a water pot. The sign Aquarius is the 11th sign of the zodiac, and Kabbalistically its numerical value is also 11. As is explained fully under that number, 411 symbolizes the first step in a new cycle, a new condition or undertaking. And as the Aquarian age dawns, our Earth and its humanity is preparing to take a new step, to enter into new cosmic fields, gain new experiences, and outline the great discoveries to be brought forth in the generations yet to come. The message of Aquaria, Christian mystics Curtis, it is this, that the cycles in their movement are bringing up to the surface now, in the United States and America generally. Not only a great glory of civilization which was forgotten 11,000 or more years ago, but also the very men, the monads, the egos, as they call them, who were concerned so many ages since in developing and bringing it to its final luster. In fact, we of the 19th century, hearing of new discoveries and inventions every day, and dreaming of great advances in all arts and sciences, are the same individuals who inhabited bodies among the powerful and brilliant, as well as wicked, Atlanteans, whose name is forever set immortal in the Atlantic Ocean. The Europeans are also Atlantean monads, but the flower, so to speak, of this revival or resurrection is and is to be on the American continent. I will not say the United States, for mayhap. When the sun of our power has risen again, there may be no United States for it to rise upon. Judge William Kwan, 1850–1896. Echoes from the Orient. Kindle locations 323–329. I can almost see the Atlanteans and these citizens of America sleepy and not well aware who they are, but yet full of the Atlantean ideas, which are only prevented from full and clear expression by the inherited bodily and mental environment which cramps and binds the mighty man within. This again is nemesis karma that punishes us by means of these galling limitations, penning up our power and for the time frustrating our ambition. It is because when we were in Atlantean bodies we did wickedly, not the mere sordid wicked things of this day, but high deeds of evil such as by St. Paul were attributed to unknown spiritual beings in high places. We degraded spiritual things and turned mighty powers over nature to base uses. We did it in excelsis that which is hinted at now in the glorification of wealth, of material goods, of the individual over the spiritual and above the great man, humanity. This has now its compensation in our present inability to attain what we want, or to remove from among us the grinding stones of poverty. We are, as yet, only preparers, much as we may exalt our plainly crude American development. Herein lies the very gist of the cycle's meaning. It is a preparatory cycle with much of necessary destruction in it, for before construction we must have some disintegration. We are preparing here in America a new race which will exhibit the perfection of the glories. Judge William Kwan, 1850–1896. Echoes from the Orient. Kindle locations 352–353. Their close communion with the astral world, their knowledge of the mission of the soul, and their realization of her relation to the divine plan, made sex perversions impossible. They placed love in the realm of divine privilege. Every procreative act was the conscious expression of a desire to incarnate a soul endowed with the highest capabilities. A race of mental and physical giants, disease was banished, and death was looked forward to as a favor of the gods, returning their souls to higher realms. Annis 19:27–20. Riv 27, Reverse, Remembrance Day, he that is unjust, let him be unjust still, and he which is filthy, let him be filthy still, and he that is righteous, let him be righteous still, and he that is holy, let him be holy still. The Russians have been holding their drills since 2012 under the title of nuclear disaster training, rather than natural disaster training. Based on the current evidence, a very strong case can be made that the last stages of the last ice age, the onset and termination of the Younger Dryas, are linked to solar activity. Reduced solar activity caused the initiation of a cold period 12900 years ago. A major solar outburst ended the Younger Dryas, bringing the last ice age to a final close, circa 9700 BCE. Did you see this executive order issued by President Obama the other day regarding space weather events? This is why Robert's book, Forgotten Civilization, The Role of Solar Outbursts in Our Past and Future, is so important. Combining evidence from multiple scientific disciplines, Schock shows how the last ice age ended abruptly in 9700 BCE due to coronal mass ejections from the sun. These solar outbursts unleashed electrical plasma discharges upon Earth and triggered volcanic activity, earthquakes, fires, and massive floods as glaciers melted and lightning strikes released torrential rains from the oceans. He explains how these events eradicated the civilization of the time and set humanity back thousands of years, only to re-emerge around 3500 BCE with scattered memories and nascent abilities. He explores within this framework how many megalithic monuments, underground cities, and ancient legends fall logically into place, as well as the reinterpreted Easter Island Rongorongo texts and the intentional burial, 100 years ago, of the Göbekli Tepe complex in Turkey. Schock reveals scientific evidence that shows how history could repeat itself with a coronal mass ejection powerful enough to devastate modern society. Weaving together a new view of the origins of civilization, the truths behind ancient wisdom, and the dynamics of the planet we live on. Schock maintains we must heed the megalithic warning of the past and collectively prepare for future events. According to Seneca, Berosus taught prophecy of every future event and cataclysm by the zodiac, and the time fixed by him for the conflagration of the world, Pralaya, and another for a deluge, is found to answer to the time given in an ancient Egyptian papyrus. It comes at every renewal of the cycle of the sidereal year of 2586 years. Blavatsky, H.P., December 18, 2012. The Secret Doctrine, Kindle locations 12,008, 12,010. Aquarius. The third house is symbolized by Aquarius. This is the first step of the upward journey or evolution from the inert mineral state. The changes are now rapid, the journeys innumerable, through mineral, vegetable, and animal planes of existence. Here, the soul monad brings into actual practice the knowledge gained on its long voyage. The magical powers of the soul are brought into action to effect these changes in form and function. Conquering material forces and planes of life, transmuting nature's elements to its uses and purposes, and writing its history as it journeys ever onward, step by step. And further, this house stands in opposition to the ninth house, symbolized by Leo, longing to expand the ego's possibilities through trial and suffering, gaining knowledge through bitter experience, yet fearlessly braving all things, guided and sustained by the imperial will of spirit. The recompense promised by that supreme sacrifice has been won in Aquarius, the man, consecrated now to a higher existence, baptized in the waters of affliction, experience, ready to be transmuted into actual knowledge. This is Aquarius, and the third house. H. Thomas, Wagner Burgoyne, Belite of Egypt, or The Science of the Soul and the Stars, Volumes 2, Kindle locations 601, 609. The 11th house is represented by Aquarius on the human plane. Friends surround and welcome him. These friends are the pure thoughts, noble impulses, lofty ideals, and generous deeds. The bread cast upon the waters of life returns to nourish and sustain him in his encounter with the secret foes. Symbolized by the 12th house in Pisces, the idols, false ideas, and vampires of his own creation are to be cleansed and washed away by the waters of love, the universal solvent that is ever seeking to bring about change and new forms, born again of water to make the round of the astral zodiac until, having again reached the equator of the ascending R, where he is reunited to the missing half of his soul, the true friend of the Edenic state, the highest point in the arc of human progress won, the honor and perfected soul, the Lord and Master, the I am that I am, to rest in peace in the heart of infinite love and wisdom. H. Thomas, Wagner Burgoyne, Bel M. The Light of Egypt, or The Science of the Soul and the Stars, Volume 2, Kindle location 657, 663. This tablet symbolizes the complete materialization of man, perfect on the earth, and the Lord thereof, insofar as material forces are concerned. The storm is the tempest of life, the whirl of the elements of matter in their battle with the spirit. The 8 stars, brilliant now, for they are the same stars that were dimly seen in Gemini, show that the conquest of matter is complete, the great fall of spirit finished, the end of involution. And this would bring stagnation and death, if peace now ensued. The lesson taught is that not in peace and rest can the soul grow, but amidst the earthquakes that shake thrones, the floods that overwhelm countries, the fires that reduce to ashes, has the strong man-soul grown to its present state and power. So fear not the storm, but the calm, not the unrest, but the quiet. Fear not the battle, but the ignoble peace of the coward. O child of Adam! The astral soul must learn to do and dare. Not over the brave man's grave shall it be written, rest in peace, but I will arise and go to my father, H. Thomas, Wagner Burgoyne, Bel M. The Light of Egypt, or The Science of the Soul and the Stars, Volume 2, Kindle locations 1983-1991. Worth one's salt. At the end of the world shall be judged by fire, and all those things that God has made of nothing shall by fire be reduced to ashes, from which ashes the phoenix is to produce her young. For in the ashes slumbers a true and genuine tartaric substance, which, being dissolved, will enable us to open the strongest bolt of the royal chamber. After the conflagration, there shall be formed a new heaven and a new earth, and the new man will be more noble in his glorified state than he was before. If you do not possess the ashes, you will be unable to obtain our salt, and without our salt you will not be able to impart to our substance a bodily form, for the coagulation of all things is produced by salt alone. As salt is the great preserving principle that protects all things from decay, so the salt of our magistery preserves metal from decomposition and utter annihilation. If their bomb were to perish, and the spirit to leave the body would be quite dead, and no longer available for any good purpose. The metallic spirit would have departed, and would have left its habitation empty, bare, and lifeless. Observe also, thou who art a lover of this art, that the salt that is gained from ashes has great potency, and possesses many concealed virtues. Nevertheless, the salt is unprofitable, until its inward substance has been extracted. For the spirit alone gives strength and life. The body by itself profits nothing. If you know how to find the spirit, you have the salt of the sages, and the incombustible oil, concerning which many things have been written before my time. Basilius Valentinius excerpt from his alchemical publication, The 12 Keys, first published in 1599. We are at the close of the cycle of 50 years of the present Aryan Kali Yuga, or Dark Age. This will be succeeded by an Age of Light. Even now, under our very eyes, the new RACE or RCES are preparing to be formed, and that is in America that the transformation will take place, and has already silently commenced. This race will be altered in mentality, illuminate, and will move toward a more perfect spiritual existence. H.P. Blavatsky. The cycles must run their rounds. Periods of mental and moral light and darkness succeed each other, as day does night. The major and minor yugas must be accomplished according to the established order of things, and we, borne along on the mighty tide, can only modify and direct some of its minor currents. The first letter of K.H. to A.O. Hume, p. 29, combined chronology for use with the Mahatma letters, and the letters of H.P. Blavatsky to A.P.T. Sinet. Before the end of the age, this whole region will shake with loud thunder. The archons will lament because of their fear of death. The angels will grieve for their human beings. The demons will weep over their times and seasons, and their people will mourn and cry on account of their death. Then the age will come, and they will be disturbed. Their kings will be drunk from the flaming sword and will wage war against each other, so that the earth will be drunk from the blood that is poured out. The seas will be troubled by war. The sun will darken and the moon will lose its light. The stars of the sky will abandon their circuits, and loud thunder will roar from a great power, above all the powers of chaos, where the firmament of the female is located. She had produced the first creation, and now she will put away her wise fire of afterthought, and put on irrational wrath. Pistis Sophia will drive out the gods of chaos, whom she had created along with the chief creator, and she will cast them down to the abyss. They will be wiped out through their own injustice. They will be like mountains blazing with fire, and they will consume one another until they are destroyed by their chief creator. When he destroys them, he will turn on himself and attack himself until he is no more. The heavens of the gods of chaos will collapse upon one another, and their powers will be consumed. Their realms will also be overthrown. The chief creator's heaven will fall and split in half. His stars in their sphere will fall down to the earth, and the earth will not be able to endure them. They will fall down to the abyss, and the abyss will be overthrown. The light will overcome the darkness and banish it. The darkness will be like something that never was, and the source of darkness will be dissolved. Deficiency will be pulled out by its root, and cast down into the darkness, and the light will withdraw up to its root. The glory of the unbegotten will appear and fill all the eternal realms when the prophets and the writings of rulers are revealed and fulfilled by those who are called perfect. Those who have not become perfect in the unbegotten Father will receive glory in their realms and the kingdoms of immortals, but they will never enter the kingless realm. All must return to the place where they came from. By what they do and what they know, all of them will reveal their natures. Nag Hammadi Scriptures, on the origin of the world. No pain, no gain, sad but true. In order to wake the world, the cycle has included the pains of Aquarius to awaken the sleepers. Hindsight is 2020's, the intelligently designed cycle of the wheel in the sky. If we left it to the patriarchs, suffering would continue indefinitely. They are only playing a role, as we all are, in the playground called Earth. It all began in 2012, and the Western world remained asleep. the Mother Earth has other plans. The Mayan, the I Ching both told us. According to the video presentation, right, the transit of Venus, one of future worlds, is a key. No matter how you slice it up, 2020s is hindsight. So you better get light in your head, and you better get peace in your head if you want to get high. Meditate. This time of the approach to the age of Aquarius is set to liberate each and everyone from the flawed lines of reasoning that have led to today's slam against the wall. We will come to see that we, as intelligent beings, must step forward as responsible and conscious co-creators. We must learn to live in absolute harmony not only with each other, but with the totality of nature. It is no longer a choice, but a necessity. Collective enlightenment may come through the inventiveness of brilliant minds, but it will occur more readily for most of us through the shockwave of realization caused by devastation. Material, physical. The fast track to enlightened living will occur primarily through the attention we give to the repair work we undertake now. In essence, we are moving out of the age of the patriarchy, defined by its core philosophy of dominance and submission that have allowed for man's violations against man and nature. We are now in the antechamber before reaching the age of matriarchy, which does not signal the rise of the feminine over the masculine, another misunderstanding of contemporary thought, but rather a rebirth of equality consciousness, one that recognizes no matter how small the life form, that each has a significant contribution to make, and that each must be honored and protected as a necessary and integral part of the whole. The alarming frequency of large-scale catastrophes is our loudest wake-up call. Mother Nature's present birthing pains are meant to awaken humanity's sleeping consciousness to the fact that we are not superior to nature, and that, in fact, without its well-being, we have nothing. We must return to a more encompassing way of living, one that replenishes respectfully, rather than consumes with gluttony, and that holds unswerving reverence for the circle of life. It is heartening to see that evidence of this critical paradigm shift is already actively at work. http www Com Journal Article 2000, 135, An Esoteric Look at Uranus. The planet Uranus is a son of the sun, and the sign of the Son of Man spoken of frequently in the New Testament of the Bible. Its discovery on March 13, 1781, signaled the modern age of man and the so-called end times of biblical prophecy. It was the first planet to be discovered in millennia outside of the traditional seven, Sun, Moon, Mercury, Venus, Mars, Jupiter, Saturn, thanks to the invention of the telescope. It broke forever the bounds or limitations of Saturn's Satan, which was until then thought to be the last or farthest planet in our solar system. Uranus's highly inclined axial tilt, 98, like its ruling sign Aquarius, makes it the oddball of the solar system, and reflects that sign's tendency to want to be different or unique. The tilt, in fact, is such that it allows the planet's inner sun to receive the sun's power most directly through its polar opening, hidden by its thick atmosphere or cloud cover. Uranus is hollow, giving it maximum power and connection to the sun, like Jesus to his Father. Uranus is in fact the only planet that can openly stand up to or challenge the sun's authority. Pluto does this too, but in covert fashion, and in that sense it becomes the sun's equal. There is growing suspicion that Uranus is larger than suspected. It may in fact be the largest planet of all, after the sun, and exercises tremendous power in the birth chart. It is strongest in air or fire, especially Aquarius or Leo. It should also be remembered that electricity or air power, which Uranus rules, is as important to our functioning as solar radiation or light. Uranus is the Christ principle in astrology, championed by such avatars as Krishna, Buddha, and Apollonius of Tyana, who was the real Jesus or Paul of the 1st century AD. These and countless others, less known, brought necessary infusions of truth and freedom into this world to keep it from totally degenerating. Humans are basically Saturnine in nature, ignorant and fearful. Librarizing, astrology, myscium esoteric Uranus. Build your spiritual ark. The Messiah, Christ consciousness, is in you. Your Messiah can only be found in you. Not a church, not a leader, not your brother, sister, mother, or father. Your conscious evolution is up to you. In the microcosm, the ark, being the human body, contains within itself innumerable living powers. Plato refers to the body in one place as like unto the shell of an oyster, and in another place he calls it the sepulchre of the soul. This sepulchre, sarcophagus, or burial chest, is also the Noahide ark. The thoughtful student will therefore realize that the account of the deluge has two widely different meanings, one relating to the sphere of causes, and the other to the sphere of effects. The thoughtful mind can never cease to admire the rare skill with which the ancient scriptural writers incorporated many meanings into a single script, the ark, or as the Hindus call it, the ego. Hall Manley P. How to Understand Your Bible. A Philosopher's Interpretation of Obscure and Puzzling Passages. Kindle locations 600-10614. New eyes to see and ears to hear in the new cycle. As Noah is the second Adam, he becomes the foster father of the human family, according to the Jewish metaphysical system. Also Noah, preserving the just according to the will of the Lord, was a prototype of Christ, for as Noah saved his family and carried them over the deluge. So in the Messianic tradition, the Messiah is made to carry the souls of just men over the Armageddon, at the time of the destruction of the world. Hall, Manley P. How to Understand Your Bible. A Philosopher's Interpretation of Obscure and Puzzling Passages. Kindle locations 540-545. But in this new era, upon whose threshold we now stand, the vibrations become more intense. Man's whole nature is being tuned to a higher key. We must not forget that these cycles apply to the race in their effect, and to the individual only as an integral part of the whole. The intellect of the race is being directed, however slowly, into scientific channels, while the human soul is slowly awakening to a sense of a deathless immortality and desire for spiritual truth. It is slowly but surely shaking off the yoke of an effete priesthood and the fetters of superstition and tyranny. Intelligent man talks of the new scientific and intellectual era that has dawned upon the world, of the necessity for a new religious system based upon scientific truths, which can be demonstrated, combined with the pure spiritual essence found in all systems of religion, a religion with more spirituality and less theology, a broader charity and less dogma, and deeper love for God and man, its only creed. We must now consider the astral influence of the cycle upon the physical organism of mankind, and particularly of the Western races, who are moving upon the upward arc of the cycle. It is quite evident that a radical change must take place in the physical form and constitution with the influx of more intellectual, ethereal, and spiritual vibrations. H. Thomas, Wagner Burgoyne, Bell M., September 6, 2000. The Light of Egypt, or The Science of the Soul and the Stars, Volume 2. It's an electric universe. Weather and atmosphere on all planets are inextricably linked to the heliospheric electrical circuitry. Climate change is inevitable, but it has nothing to do with us. It's the result of energy changes within the solar system. The very fact that the sun has had a strange sunspot cycled recently, and that is our main bellwether that electrical effects are taking place in the solar system that are unusual, is strong evidence of this electrical explanation. HTTP, Evolutionary Leaps. Hab 2:14, For the earth shall be filled with the knowledge of the glory of the Lord, as the waters cover the sea. The good, the pious, and the just are born when first Aquarius pours out his urn. Manilius. There is no such thing as global warming, but there is cosmic electricity, and these rays affect our evolution, the electricity otherwise known as Lucifer. The geoengineering is undertaken to top the clouds, to keep them from rising and producing anvils and storms more rain. The clouds are also sprayed with absorbents of some type. They absorb the moisture, and then the fallout appears as grayish blue on the horizon. I have seen it so you couldn't make out any other color from the top of Mount Maxwell. I have also seen it in Muskoka, and across the country. Cities are sprayed because of the heat island effect, and the spray reduces the possibility of violent storm creation. Prone regions to early Aquarian storms and flooding includes the Great Lakes region and the ocean coasts. Our fifth race is rapidly approaching the fifth element. Call it interstellar ether, the game changer, if you will, which has more to do, however, with psychology than with physics. HPB Alice Bailey forecasts the game changer for 2025 in Esoteric Psychology 1 Ray 4 to come slowly into manifestation after 2025 AD. Humble opinion, of course, they don't want you to know when it happens, but I have seen countless videos suggesting it happens now. The fact that we are crossing the galactic center trumps the Bailey assessment. From all subtle and obvious indications and symbolism, the game is underway. In the silent visage of the Great Sphinx is etched the attitude of the timeless watcher who waits. Through the ages for the coming of man who shall rend his earth-wrought chains and achieve the destiny of his race. On the opposite side of the zodiac, the lion looks to the full emergence of the Aquarian man. The great potentialities of Leo in their highest aspect await the time of their manifestation in the ascending sign of the water-bearer. In air, the most refined and powerful fire abides. Aquarius represents the ideal toward which humanity is moving, The name itself is a haunting reminder of the hopes for a better world that many bury along with their all-too-fleeting youth. The age of Aquariuses seems to hesitate in its dawning, whetting the longings of a world-weary generation. But no thoughtful observer of nature's process could presume that a new birth, transcending these limiting expectations, would take place until the old dead forms had disintegrated and become mere compost for the future. Why are we here? What you tellin' your children? You don't understand, oh, so you better beware and you better get. And you better get light in your head and you better get. And you better get peace in your bed. It has been known since ancient times that Aquarius was bound up with destruction and rebirth. This is why the water bearer is linked with the great floods, and with him who rides out the deluge and lays down the seed of a new order. The Buddhist Nidana ordinarily associated with Aquarius is Jati, which belongs to the future and marks the time when the soul shall break its bonds and realize its unity with its brethren. Jati means birth, and is strongly reflected in the Aquarian's inclination to give freely of the fruits of his labor. He knows that they cannot but stagnate in his clutches, so his hand is always open, always seeming to deplete his riches, but never closing to contain them. The wavy glyph of Aquarius signifies the final manifestation of the undulatory forces of evolution. Like two serpents, the one above is reflected in its lower counterpart. The lines indicate both electricity and its fluid medium, water. In the great process of evolution through the fourth and fifth races, man now approaches a condition which will permit him to begin to tap the vast potentiality that existed at the opposite descending arc of the cycle. Only now he will begin to permeate his consciousness, while in a physical vesture, with the wisdom of timelessness. At every turn, the true Aquarian will find himself at odds with the sentiments of the present. He will be one of that lonely tribe that ventures onto the uncharted continents, turning away from the limiting guidelines of contemporary civilization. In the Assyrian tablets which depict the Nimrod epic. In the 11th tablet, representing the 11th sign of the zodiac, the god Rimmon is shown together with the emblems of thunder, lightning, and rain. The zigzag lines projecting from the hands suggest the serpentine motion of water as well as arcane electricity. The game changer, Hermes, March 1977. On the other hand, the Hyades are the rain or deluge constellations, and Aldebaran, he who follows or succeeds the daughters of Atlas or the Pleiades, looks down from the eye of Taurus. It is from this point of the ecliptic that the calculations of the new cycle were commenced. The student has to remember also that when Ganymedes Aquarius is raised to heaven, or above the horizon of the North Pole, Virgo or Astrea, who is Venus Lucifer, descends head downwards below the horizon of the South Pole, or the pit, which pit or the pole is also the great dragon, or the flood. Let the student exercise his intuition by placing these facts together. No more can be said. Vol, 2-page, 786, The Secret Doctrine, Climate Change. This teaching has been propounded from time immemorial and comes to us from Chaldea through Berosus, an astrologer at the Temple of Belus at Babylon. Chaldea, as is well known, was the one universal center of magic, from which radiated the rays of occult learning into every other country where the mysteries were enacted and taught. According to this teaching, believed in by Aristotle if we may credit Censorinus, the great year consists of 200 and 1000 odd years, the latter varying, or 6 Chaldean sars consisting of 3, 500 years each. These 2 decimillen, iambs are naturally halved, the first period of 100 and 500 years bringing us to the top of the cycle, and a minor cataclysm, the latter decimillennium to a terrible and universal geological convulsion. During these 200 and 1000 years, the polar and equatorial climates gradually exchange places, the former moving slowly towards the line and the tropical zone, replacing the forbidding wastes of the icy poles. This change of climate is necessarily attended by cataclysms, earthquakes, and other cosmical throes. As the beds of the ocean are displaced, at the end of every decimillennium and about 1 Neros, 600 years, a semi-universal deluge like the legendary Bible flood is brought about. See Isis Unveiled Vol. pp. 30-30-30. Earth changes, so that when a new minor period sets in, the Earth is so changed, even geologically, as to be practically a new world. But of these 12 transformations, the Earth after each of the first 6 is grosser, and everything on it, man included, more material than after the preceding one, while after each of the remaining 6 the contrary is true. Both Earth and man growing more and more refined and spiritual with each terrestrial change. 5. That when the apex of the cycle is reached, a gradual dissolution takes place, and every living and objective form is destroyed. Blavatsky, H.P., Isis Unveiled, Vol. IAMP 2, Kindle locations 19,414 19,420. The beast that thou sawest was, and is not, and shall ascend out of the bottomless pit, and go into perdition, and they that dwell on the earth shall wonder. Whose names were not written in the book of life from the foundation of the world, when they behold the beast that was, and is not, and yet is. Wilcox. After the full completion of the solar precessional galactic cycle in late 2012, the Earth will no longer remain as a third-density planet. For some, this foreseen shift in consciousness may be associated with physical global cataclysmic changes on Earth as well. See Joseph 2008. Spiritual enlightenment and physical catastrophes are not mutually exclusive. Wilcox notes, the Earth will already have been cleansed from its magnetic pole shift, crustal displacement, as the grid realigns itself with the in-streaming fourth-dimensional vibrations. This pole shift will remove much of the traces of modern civilization from the Earth's surface. Wilcox 1999, 2009. Schock, Ph.D., Robert M., Forgotten Civilization. The Role of Solar Outbursts in Our Past and Future. Kindle locations 3,000, 423,499. Ezekiel Enoch, Revelation, Leviathan. 20 years ago, this is the approximate timing of the last time we visited Aquarius. If you want to know the future, look at the past. There is nothing new under the sun. We may never pass this way again, but there will be and have been others who will and have. It is logical that it might have been 250 years ago, while crossing the galactic center. The new ray Fohat entering our atmosphere, ECC 12.6. At the break in the wheel, solar outbursts, going even further back in time, dating to the period of up to 20,000 years ago or more, are human-created abstract, meandering patterns on cave walls. Referred to by the French cave art researcher Henri Breuil, 1877-1961, as macaronis. These have been interpreted as depictions of auroral displays, NASA 2006. In 1976, George Sisco wrote, "The most dramatic example of this possibility is to be found on the ceiling of the cave of Rouffignac in France, where lines drawn in the red clay ceiling resemble the folded curtain patterns of the aurora." Quoted in van der Sluij's 2010s. Schock, Ph.D., Robert N. Forgotten Civilization. The Role of Solar Outbursts in Our Past and Future. Kindle locations 2,852,857. Leviathan. And I stood upon the sand of the sea, and saw a beast rise up out of the sea, having 7 heads and 10 horns, and upon his horns 10 crowns, and upon his heads the name of blasphemy. Leviathan, portrayed in the Bible as a destructive force from the sea. It's a central theme of the Old Testament, from the dragon's description in Job. By his sneezings, a light doth shine, and his eyes are like the eyelids of the morning. Out of his mouth go burning lamps, and sparks of fire leap out. Out of his nostrils goeth smoke, as out of a seething pot or cauldron. His breath kindleth coals, and a flame goeth out of his mouth. Job 41, 18, 21, to the strange visions of apocalypse described in the New Testament book of Revelations. And out of their mouths issued fire and smoke and brimstone. By these 3 was the third part of men killed by the fire, and by the smoke, and by the brimstone, which issued out of their mouths. For their power is in their mouth, and in their tails, for their tails were like unto serpents, and had heads, and with them they do hurt. Service. Revelations 9. Ezekiel. Eze went for, and I looked, and behold, a whirlwind came out of the north, a great cloud, and a fire infolding itself, and a brightness was about it, and out of the midst thereof as the color of amber, out of the midst of the fire. Ezekiel 1:22. And the likeness of the firmament upon the heads of the living creature was as the color of the terrible crystal, stretched forth over their heads above. 23 And under the firmament were their wings straight, the one toward the other. Every one had 2, which covered on this side, and every one had 2, which covered on that side, their bodies. 24 And when they went, I heard the noise of their wings, like the noise of great waters, as the voice of the Almighty, the voice of speech, as the noise of an host, they let down their wings. 25 And there was a voice from the firmament that was over their heads, when they stood, and had let down their wings. 26 And above the firmament that was over their heads was the likeness of a throne, as the appearance of a sapphire stone, and upon the likeness of the throne was the likeness as the appearance of a man above upon it. 27 And I saw as the color of amber, as the appearance of fire round about within it. from the appearance of his loins even upward, and from the appearance of his loins even downward, I saw as it were the appearance of fire, and it had brightness round about. 28. As the appearance of the bough that is in the cloud in the day of rain, so was the appearance of the brightness round about. This was the appearance of the likeness of the glory of the Lord. And when I saw it, I fell upon my face, and I heard a voice of one that spake. The Book of Enoch. 1. I saw the storehouse of all the winds. I saw how he had adorned the whole creation with them, and the firm foundations of the earth. 2. And I saw the cornerstone of the earth. I saw the 4 winds which support the earth and the firmament of the heaven. 3. I saw how the winds stretch out the height of heaven, and have their station between heaven and earth. These are the pillars of heaven. 4. I saw the winds of heaven, which turn and bring the sky and the sun, and all the stars to their setting place. 5. I saw the winds on the earth carrying the clouds. I saw the paths of the angels. I saw at the end of the earth the firmament of heaven above. 6. And I continued south, and saw a place which burns day and night, where there are 7 mountains of magnificent stones, 3 towards the east, and 3 towards the south. 7. And as for those towards the east, they were of colored stone, and one of pearl, and one of jacinth, a stone of healing, and those towards the south of red stone. 8. But the middle one reached to heaven like the throne of God, and was made of alabaster. 9. And the summit of the throne was of sapphire. Lumpkin, Joseph. The books of Enoch, the angels, the watchers, and the Nephilim, with extensive commentary on the 3 books of Enoch, the fallen angels, the calendar of Enoch, and Daniel's prophecy. Zeus throwing a thunderbolt.
The minds to liberation and where we are.